Good morning, sunshine. So, gonna start with the cycling bike. It's going to be heavy climb, 42 minutes. It's a part one. Yeah, buckle up and we'll start. I'm gonna call out resistance and incline. If you don't have an incline, increase resistance. That's about it. It's Wednesday. I don't know. Okay. Na, 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 na. I slept in. It's it's quite late. It's okay.
Welcome back, guys. I'm your trainer, Tommy Ribs. We are here in Sionzier, the southeastern corner of France. What we're going to do today is climb up Col de la Colombier. It's an iconic climb from the Tour de France. So we are workout 12. This is our first of 3 climbs this week. We're going to start out with an easy warm-up and then get going from there. Let's do it, guys.
Incline 1, resistance 13.
All right, so just like before, every workout that we start, we're going to start with an easy warm-up. So the point of this is just to get the blood flowing in our legs. We're not worried about cadence for this first 5 minutes or so. The important point is just to get blood flowing. This is our first climb, so we're coming off of our recovery ride yesterday. Really important to remember to take advantage of those recovery rides. So you got to recover enough so that you can go hard enough on these more high intense workouts. So first 5 minutes, just easy spinning. Just find a cadence that's comfortable for you right now. Once we get into this climb a little bit, we'll get a little bit more specific on that. But just for the first few minutes, just let the blood begin to flow through all the different
Incline
cells
2,
that we're going to
resistance
use.
13.
Use these first few minutes to focus in on the work that we're about to put in. So if you recall, we've talked about this before. We do these easy workouts easy so that we can really bring it on these higher intensity workouts. So right now, in terms of our effort, we want to keep things right around no more than 4 out of 10 on a rate of perceived exertion. So that's light intensity. Again, light intensity, it should be done at an intensity that's easy enough to where you could have a conversation, you could easily breathe through your nose if you needed to. Intensity is how hard we're working compared to how hard we have the ability to work. So on a scale of 0 to 10, in terms of 0 being no effort, and then 10 being as much effort as you can exert possible, we're shooting for no more than 4 right here. If you need a heart rate that corresponds with that, it should be no more than 77% of your max heart rate. If you remember before we talked about this, the way that you calculate that is you take the number 220, subtract your age, and multiply that by 0.77. So we're about halfway through this warm-up phase. We're climbing up, as I mentioned, Col de la Colombier. We are here in the Rhone Alps, the southeastern region of France. This is a climb which is incredibly iconic. It's been used 22 different times, including this last year in the Tour de France. So one of the most challenging climbs. We're going to rise up through these granite peaks of the Alps, here specifically in the Rhone Alps. Couple couple more minutes of just easy spinning, getting the body warmed up, focusing your mind in, just like we did during the first 3-part climb series, where we had that 2-minute high intensity as hard as we could go, fast finish. We're actually going to double that up because this is the second week, so we're going to do that 2 times. 2 times 2 minutes. You can jump out of the saddle if you need.
Incline 3, resistance 13.
And then we're going to have a 1-minute recovery, and then we're going to finish it up with a nice easy cool down. Something I want to talk about before we get going. So this little city, Sionzier, this is a place that in the late 1700s there was a philosopher named Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He's a famous philosopher, writer, composer. He was really influential during the French Revolution. He had these ideas about education, these ideas about equality, which were pretty radical at the time.
Incline 2,
And he said
resistance
something that I
13.
really love. So one of his quotes, he talked about not teaching the sciences to children, but letting children experience the sciences. And that's something that I personally really relate to. So that's kind of my take on endurance athletics in general. So rather than talking about, drilling in the physiology and the benefits from these workouts, in my mind, you seek to experience these incredible natural places, and if you can do that generated by power from your own body, you can self-propel yourself into these incredible places and experience it for yourself, then you're able to actually reap the benefits, feel the exhilaration of all of these incredible outdoor locations. And when I think about that quote from Rousseau, that's really kind of what it means to me. So rather than breaking down everything and deconstructing it, try and find the beauty in stuff, try and experience all the joy rather than just getting focused in on everything being so calculated. So on that note, we're going to go about 15 more seconds.
Incline
And
7,
we're going to start this climb.
resistance
So
11.
the cadence that we're looking for on these climbs is a range between 6.
Okay. I
60 and 80. We've talked about this before. If
have to close the door. Yeah.
if you need to find a specific number, if that's something you're searching for, shoot for right around 70.
So incline 7, resistance 11.
2, 1. So really ease into this effort. This will just be a minor increase in intensity. I promise this is going to get difficult. So just give this a few minutes. This is one of those situations.
Target
where it gets
RPM
harder as it
70.
gets harder. And what I mean by that, your body will start to fatigue. You'll feel the accumulative effects of the fatigue from every single kilometer as we increase, climbing up and up and up. So give yourself a few minutes, settle into a pace that's manageable. We're going to shoot for right around a half hour. So your breathing now should be such that you're able to speak in short sentences.
At the end
Right around 70.
of workout, we're gonna do 2-minute push,
So again, if you remember, we talked about cadence.
rest a little,
ad nauseam at this point.
and
So
another 2-minute
when
push,
you're climbing,
all in.
shooting for right around 70. That seems somewhat low for a lot of people, especially if you kind of cut your teeth in cycling and spin classes. A lot of times in spin classes, lower cadence typically, people that find that they have a stronger, muscular base, they find that a lower cadence is more comfortable. For other people who are just aerobic monsters, that maybe don't have very good musculature, they'll find that a higher cadence is more comfortable. So if we take the data, 1999 for example, there was a study done of the average cadence during the Grand Tours. We talked about this before. Remember the Grand Tours, or the Tour de France, the Giro d'Italia, and the Vuelta a España. So the three most prestigious climbs, the very greatest athletes, at a time when athletes were pushing really the limits and boundaries of human potential. They found that of all of the professional riders on the climbs, on the steep ascents, they averaged 71 RPMs. So a cadence of 71, that means 71 rotations per minute when they were on the climbs. In contrast to when they were on the flats, they averaged 89. So the very fittest cyclists in the entire world were right around 71 for the climbs. So if you're looking for a number, that's a good one to chase after. Keep moving, guys. Alright guys, so keep breathing.
Same.
Nice and focused.
Incline 7, resistance low.
Try to spread that motivation that you have evenly throughout this entire effort. Find a rhythm if you find that helps. Try to keep everything generated towards forward momentum. So keep your shoulders down, your traps relaxed. You want to keep your hands lightly holding the handlebars. You don't want to death grip. All of those muscular contractions, every single cell that you're contracting is using energy that could be used towards forward momentum. So unless it's coming from your legs and your glutes, it's not contributing to forward momentum. The upper body, spine, the head, the arms, all of that should be set in place to provide stability so that you can then generate force through your legs. So the concept we talk about all the time in the biomedical world, physiological world, in terms of strength and generation of power is proximal stability. Proximal meaning close to your midline, through your trunk and your core, which will enable distal mobility. Distal meaning our appendages that are far away from our midline and our core, specifically our legs. So proximal stability, stability within our core, and then that equals distal mobility. The analogy that we use all the time is that you can't shoot
I just have to stand up for a little bit.
and by that means you have to have a solid platform from which you can then generate force. Alright, so if you need to jump out of the saddle, either to rest your backside or to work some of these other muscles, that's okay. Remember to keep your upper body nice and relaxed if you can. Try to keep the force equal through both legs. So you don't want to bounce too much from side to side. You don't want to push harder on one side than the other. Try to keep everything nice and balanced. If you've ever watched the tour, if you're like me and grew up watching that all the time, you'll find that the very best riders, the very best climbers, they work with their bike as if it's this single mechanism. So there's not this disconnect. It's not like they're fighting against this mechanical beast. They're actually working with it. It's smooth, it's fluid. some of those best riders in the history of the sport have ridden this exact same path. I remember Marco Pantani. He was the famous Italian rider. He duked it out year after year after year when Lance Armstrong was starting his multi-year run of the tour. Lance and Marco Pantani, they used to battle it out specifically on this time. So Marco Pantani, he used to wear the pink jersey. He had a shaved head. This was back in the tour before they were required to wear helmets on the climb, so you're able to see a lot more personality in these guys. They called him the pirate. He had pierced ears, shaved head. He was a small, really lean, powerful cyclist. So he and Lance had this rivalry, and on not this climb specifically, but on another iconic climb during the tour, the two of them battled it out, and Lance led all the way up to the line, and then he allowed Pantani, the pirate, to pass him right before they got to the line. And then he said in the interviews afterwards that he did it intentionally, and he called Marco Pantani Elefante, the elephant. And it was one of his nicknames, but it was an insult. And Pantani was furious after he did this, and they continued that rivalry. Anyway, Lance ended up winning, but both of them were eventually thrown out for doping. And a couple of years after retirement, Pantani overdosed on cocaine, and unfortunately, he passed away. But I had a poster of him on my door when I was a kid, this big poster, probably 3 feet tall. Back when I grew up in the sticks in the rural American West, you can't get, posters of professional Italian cyclists. So I used to find these pictures in the magazines and cut them out and take them to the local store and have them blown up. And I had them all over my walls as a kid. So he was one of my heroes growing up. And even though I always rooted for the Americans at that time, he was definitely the favorite rider that you love to hate, if that makes sense. He was the antagonist. In every superhero story needs a good villain, and he was that dude. So, mad props to him.
Same thing.
It's somewhat difficult
Incline
to talk
7,
about the history of
the resistance
touring
11.
cycling, just, something that was moving for me growing up, but at the same time, it was tainted as all these revelations came out about doping was such a prominent thing.
Incline 3, resistance 13.
Starting in the early 1990s and going through even now, people talk about the cyclists are just finding new ways to do the system. It's super unfortunate, but can't deny the fact that, these guys become larger than life, these icons, especially for somebody like me, growing up in a small town and just looking for these guys to look up to.
Incline 2, resistance 14.
Alright, so again, remember what cadence we're shooting, we're right around 70 on this climb. So if you find you're a little below that, don't try to make a drastic jump, just gradually increase that. If you find that higher cadence is difficult for you to attain, it's not simply something that you can snap on overnight. It's something that your body is able to adapt slowly, but it's a neurological change. We talked about this before, so a neuromuscular adaptation is taking place. You're literally laying down new neurological groundwork. Imagine you're replacing or upping an electrical system in a building. These neurological patterns are not just based on the specific muscle groups or movement patterns, they're actually based on time. So 70 RPM RPMs or cadence of 70 is a completely different neurological pattern than a cadence of
Incline
60.
2,
These
resistance
things
14.
take time. So if you find, you're 10 below what you want, this week focus on 1 or 2 extra RPMs. Really focus in on that. And then once you're able to comfortably do that, that's an indication that you established a new neurological pattern. That's a signpost for you to help you realize that you've progressed. So one other thing you might have just noticed, I pointed down the ground. This is just one of those hacks that, riding with a group, getting outside is something that you want to do. That's just another component of the etiquette. So what I saw was a broken beer bottle, green glass all over the road. Those tiny shards of glass, those, at least in my experience, those are what typically cause the flats that I get. So, you're changing a flat, and the culprit, at least in the areas that I've grown up, has always been green pieces of glass. So that'll go right through these tires, puncture those tubes. So when you're riding with a group, you got to be as safe as possible. Remember, safety is always the biggest priority. But as carefully as possible, you'll point down to whatever it is, whatever that obstruction is. Whether it's a stick or a rock or a pothole or glass or gravel or sand, any of these things, you point it out to the people in front of you, and then they'll relay that message through that peloton, through that line of riders, and it'll allow everybody to navigate that safely. So when you're riding with a group, there's a lot of trust. But the way that you develop that trust is through experience with riding with other experienced riders, because they serve, the guy in front of you serves as your eyes. You've got to trust that if he sees something, he's going to point it out to you, and you'll be able to navigate around it. And at the same time, you have the responsibility of pointing out those things to the riders that are right behind you. You'll see, I guess the best example of this is watching the team time trial in the tour and the other Grand Tour events. You'll find these guys, they move. It's just this serpentine motion. Everybody reacting off of the actions of the rider in front of them. They look like one of those dragons, that you see at Chinese New Year. Everybody's moving in this fluid line. Alright guys, keep focused. Remember, we're trying to keep our intensity right around 6 out of 10 as a
Incline 3, resistance 13.
rate of perceived exertion. We talked about before, if you need a heart rate to correspond with that moderate intensity, 85% of your max heart rate.
Incline 1, resistance 15.
So, same calculation as we talked about before, 85%, take the number 220, subtract your age, and then multiply that by 0.85. That's not the basement, that's the ceiling, so don't try to exceed that. Make sure that you stay underneath that. You gotta really trust the process. This is what we talked about over and over and over. You gotta really trust that the benefits that you're gonna get are most likely if you stay within these guidelines.
Incline 2,
Alright, so I'm gonna hop out of the saddle just a little bit.
resistance 15.
What this does is it shifts just slightly the way that we're working the muscles. It also gives you a chance to stretch your backside so you don't get too sore. It also allows blood to flow into areas that can actually kind of have blood restricted or pinched off because of the way that you're sitting on your saddle. So
Just for a moment.
something that, independent of the engineers over a couple of 100 years, it hasn't changed much. So
Incline 3, resistance 14.
on the market, and you're still going to get some discomfort from time to time. So when you're riding with a group, the key is to make sure that when you do get up to adjust or whatever, that you do it as subtly as possible without letting your bike move around, because
Incline 2, resistance
whatever
15.
you do, the guy behind you is going to do, and it's like a wave. Those motions are always bigger the further down the line they go. So remember, with these pedal strokes, you want to keep everything nice and fluid. So we're not just stomping down, we're also pulling up. As we come down to the bottom of the pedal stroke, we act as if we're scraping something off the bottom of our foot. And then we pull our heel back up towards our butt, and then rotate around and push forward. So the motion is taking place on one leg, the opposite equal motion is taking place on the other leg. Imagine this as if you're a locomotive, and each leg is working independent, generating as much force as you can throughout that entire pedal stroke. So this climb is going to progressively get steeper and steeper. So as I said before, this gets harder as it gets harder. So we're going to get steeper as we get more into this workout. And our body gets more warmed up, which provides some of the benefit. We've got better blood flow, our heart is pumping better, our blood vessels are expanding, a process called vasodilation. So vaso,
Incline 1, resistance 15.
which is the same as vasculature, so our blood vessels, and then dilation, meaning an expanding. So vasodilation, that's taking place in the large vessels, as well as these tiny arterioles within our system. So as that takes place, in combination with better contractions of our heart, that word is called contractility. So our heart has the ability
Incline
to
1,
move better,
resistance
pump out more blood
17.
with each pump.
1,
That
7.
term is known as our stroke volume, so the amount of blood that comes out with every single beat. And that's something that increases as we slowly, consistently, day after day, week after week, put in this work. Guys, remember, moderate intensity here, so we're not shooting for anything over 6 out of 10 in terms of rate of proceduralization. Give yourself that check. Make sure everything is relaxed from top to bottom. Keep your eyes up. Keep that spine nice and neutral. We don't want to be overflexed. We don't want to be too extended. We want everything neutral. All of that forming a solid base from which you can then generate power through those legs and glutes. Stay hydrated if you need to. Don't be afraid. Take a sip. Nice and fluid.
Incline 1, resistance 16.
A lot of famous riders that have won in these stages, specifically this climb. This year was really special for France specifically. The winner of this climb was a young rider, 26 years old, from a team out of Belgium, even though he was French, he's from a team out of Belgium. His name is Julien Alaphilippe. This was his very first stage win of the Tour de France. So he was a rider that had a history in cyclocross racing. So multiple times. So the stage of the tour this year, 2018, was stage 10, and they climbed up this specific climb, but it also went up a lot of other passes within that specific stage. And they have these checkpoints at the tops of the climbs, and the rider that makes it to that checkpoint first gets points within the category of the best climbers. And so Alex Lee, he was able to break away, and he actually made it through those checkpoints, several of them, before anybody else. So he racked up a lot of points. He won the stage, which is a big deal. You know, you make some money, usually around $10,000 or so, you'll get a bonus. But you're out in front, the media's focused on you. It's huge in terms of prestige. It's huge in terms of, you know, developing your career as a cyclist. It's also huge in terms of you having the respect of the other cyclists within the peloton. So as strange as that sounds, if you're a young rider, you only win a stage if the other more veteran riders within the peloton let you win that stage. So this goes back to that notion of etiquette. You have to earn your right to essentially attack off the front and not have these veteran riders basically call out the troops to pull you back. And so it's a really important turning point, almost like a rite of passage for these young riders. So the thing that made it even cooler is that it was 2 days after France won the World Cup. So there's a lot of national pride within this country, and having that back-to-back World Cup victory 2 days later, Julian Alaphilippe wins this tour on one of these really iconic climbs. It was just an incredible experience. He was super emotional coming across the line. He said he didn't expect that to happen. The other thing that happened, which was awesome, is that he was awarded the polka dot jersey, so the white jersey with the red polka dots. And that meant that because of the different checkpoints that he'd come through, he took the lead in terms of being the best climber in the tour. So he was awarded that prestigious polka dot jersey. You remember we talked about this before. That's one of those four, there's actually 5 jerseys, but one of those main 4 jerseys. You have the yellow jersey, the leader of the general category. You have the green jersey, which is typically the guy that's leading in points, so the best sprinter. And then you have the white jersey for the best young rider, and then the polka dot jersey. So one of those 4, and he was awarded that polka dot jersey that night. So really cool for him, and then also a really big deal for his country. Alright guys, 80 check. Make sure you're right around 70, as long as you're within that range, 60 to 80, and you feel comfortable, it's all good. So if you're trying to improve just a little bit at a time, let's shoot for right around 70. Remember, 71 was the average of all those pro cyclists.
You have right under just around
like
10 minutes left.
Keep moving. Nice, smooth pedal strokes.
Also,
Eyes up. Shoulders relaxed. Make sure your traps are relaxed. Make sure that your pedal strokes are even. Nice, solid movement, consistent exertion throughout that entire pedal stroke. As we start to get up here out of this wooded area,
incline 2,
above,
resistance
you know,
15.
some of these trees into the alpine areas, we get up to where the tree lines aren't quite as dense, and you'll see there's graffiti that's written all over the road This is remnants from the tour that took place this year. So we got a lot of messages. They're written in all different languages. We've seen in German, we've seen in French, we've seen in English. They're messages that people want to send out to the world because the aerial views that are taken during the tour from helicopters and from drones, but also there are these messages where the spectators they're able to send messages towards the actual riders in the tour. Just like week one, in that 3-part climb, remember how we finished up? We had the 2-minute fast finish for this week. Week 2, we're going to progress. So we're going to add another 2 minutes at the end of this. So we have 2 times 2 minutes at a high intensity. So we're looking for right around 9 to 10 out of 10. So this is, remember, our VO2 max intensity. This is really as hard as you can push for those 2 minutes. We're going to recover for 1 minute, and then we're going to do it again. And then we'll finish things off.
2-minute push coming.
Cool down.
2 minutes all out.
Just nice
1 minute recovery and another 2-minute push
that
all out.
in 5,
Okay, ready?
3,
Incline to resistance 17.
Alright, so this, I want you up out of the saddle.
Out of the saddle.
Really push it.
2 minutes.
So your heart rate should be up as high as 95% of your max. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. So push in close to as hard as you can. So that cadence, you'll find as we're pushing, that cadence will increase just a little bit. We'll still probably be right around 70. If you find
Incline minus 1.
when you're up out of the saddle,
Resistance
if your cadence
18.
is rising much over that, we'll focus on having that resistance come up just a little bit, just so you can keep pushing at that optimal cadence. Alright guys, up out of the saddle,
Up.
keep moving. We're 1 minute into that, 1 more minute.
1 more minute.
Make sure that pedal stroke is like we talked about. So fluid all the way around. Keep that back nice and stable. Really moving forward, guys. Eyes up, keep that back neutral. 20 more seconds, guys. Really push.
20 seconds.
Come up. Take the lead on this. Let's really go. Relax. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Recover. 1 minute recover.
So nice, easy spin, as easy as you need to. Should really be feeling that, guys. So your lungs should be burning, your legs should be burning. Take those arms out if you need. This recovery is going to be over quick. So really take advantage of it. Big deep breaths. Great work on that. Alright guys, so that's where we were last week. We're going to build on that. 15 more seconds to go.
15 seconds and we're going another 2 minutes.
2 more minutes. So try to maintain that same intensity that we did before. So we are going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go
Let's
guys.
go.
Up,
Incline to resistance 17.
move. Alright, find that cadence. Really move those legs. Pushing solid pedal strokes all the way through.
-1, resistance 18.
Let's go, guys. Breathe and push. Keep that back neutral. Alright. We've got a little more than 1 minute left. Let's keep going, guys.
Halfway.
Keep that cadence. Relax. Between that range. Up to 80. That's my rear max on these planks. Guys, this is as hard as you can. For the next 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Really push. All the way down left.
Ah,
Everything you got, guys.
everything you got.
Come on.
Flat, resistance 18.
10 more seconds.
10. Ah,
3,
3, 2,
1.
recover.
Straighten those legs.
Resistance 13. Flat.
Oh man. Nice work. Burns. Very good. Alright guys. The hard work is done. Now we've just got an easy cool down.
Cool down.
Work into this
Cool down.
little village. So spin those legs. Whatever's comfortable. Yeah. All there guys. This is the exact same rock like the Chucky rock that they have in the tour. So it's seriously like a dream come true for someone like me. If you dream this kind of thing, you're able to be here. This is exactly it. And that's inspiring to me. So I'm super stoked that you were able to join me for this. So we're going to come up here to this little chateau and finish things up. Solid work. Dang. That one was a burner. Try to catch my breath for a second. Guys, congrats. That was awesome. Make sure you do everything you're covered between now and when I see you tomorrow. So we're going to be back at it. Climbing up the train mountain. We're going to do a total of 3 climbs on this mountain. Got a little bit of surprise in store, so make sure you come back on time there is. I'll see you next time, guys.
Mile 41. 10:41. Feels good. Feels alive, huh? 10 miles and 41.